All right, he's back from New York. He's writing his book that will be the total inside breakdown of how Trump won right through the transition. It's Roger Stone. He's listed at the bottom of the hour. Then Paul Watson takes over for the rest of the transmission because I've got some big fish to fry. I'm just going to leave it at that. So much unfolding, so much happening. I knew the globalists wouldn't give up because Trump's for real. He wants to make America great again. He's not perfect. He's kind of a strong man, but he does want free market. He does want prosperity. He wants to preside over that largesse. You know, Rome had emperors that had, you know, golden ages of jobs and freedom and prosperity. Then they had emperors that wanted to make people poor and control them, like Nero. And we're going through that right now as an empire. Trump wants to make us a republic again. And I just played Keith Olbermann just foaming at the mouth, frothing, saying, we're at war. We must bring him out. Any means necessary. We must stop him. The CIA, visit the electors. And they've announced the CIA, this rogue group that is all secretive, is going to go talk to the electors. And basically it's like talking to a jury, like the mafia does, and say, hey, how's your daughter doing? Where'd your puppy dog go? You better do the right thing. And the average American gets visited by the CIA. They might go ahead and say, okay, I'm not going to pledge myself to the voters as I promised. Now, also, the Democrats admit they infiltrated people into those processes, and now Nancy Pelosi's daughter is leading it. You cannot make this up. A new article on Infowars.com by Kellen McBreen. Proof foreign governments did interfere in election to help Hillary. The communist Chinese and the Saudi Arabians bragged in newspapers they'd given hundreds of millions through U.S. subsidiaries. That's illegal. But Hillary controlled the Justice Department. So they're the ones getting foreign money. They're the ones bringing the illegals in. They're the ones with the EU involved and the Pope and all this. And then they say Trump is, and then Clapper is in front of the Congress yesterday and says there's no proof they were involved in WikiLeaks. The FBI says no proof they hacked the RNC. But Olbermann and everybody else and Hillary comes out and Podesta and says the FBI agrees and all 17 agencies agree. The problem is, and this is not getting any real traction, it's in a few newspapers, top U.S. spy agencies refuses to endorse CIA's Russian hacking assessment due to lack of evidence, says it's a thin read, no proof of intent. That's the Office of the Director of National Intelligence that oversees all other 16 agencies. It was set up in 2002 to coordinate. It's the boss. So they are really putting this disinfo out, which shows they will go to any lengths. Roger Stone of the StoneColdTruth.com, former head of the Trump campaign, and, of course, former best friends with Richard Nixon as well. Boy, the old days of Nixon, he looks like a loving American compared to these monsters. I tell you, they are arrogant. They are angry. They are full of bravada and chutzpah. I don't know what to say at this point. They are frothing mad. They're pissed on the street. This is a true cult. I think, Roger, if anything, this has revealed the fact that the modern liberal is a very dangerous gang member mental patient, and their leaders are even worse than them. What do you make of all this hysteria and where this is going?
Well, Alex, this is a concerted campaign with several steps. The first step has been to harp on the popular vote, by which, of course, we don't elect the president, and the fact that Hillary has, at least with the counting where we are today, a lead there. Then, secondarily, was the phony recount in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, in the hopes that it would yield something, but it yielded nothing.
Well, gain votes for Trump.
It yielded a slight gain for Trump, and it proved nothing in Wisconsin. Now, thirdly, is this whole canard about Russia. We still have no proof of this whatsoever. It's a theme, but it's a theme without proof. The New York Times wrote that Congressman McCall, a Republican from Texas, said, oh, yes, the Russians were involved. But when I checked, that was based on a verbal briefing from the CIA. He's seen no proof. So this is an effort, you're absolutely right, aimed directly at the electors to try to spook the electors. It's the last grasp of the power establishment, the two-party duopoly, the world globalists, to keep control because they see control of the federal government going to Donald Trump.
And let's just say this. Very slowly, very calmly, and let this roll off your tongue and roll off your mind, folks, like water off the duck's back, but let it sink in. The CIA, a rogue secret group run by Obama and Soros and Hillary, admittedly says they want new elections on CNN, led by Bob Baer, whose job is overthrowing governments. This is a discredited, professional liar group. They are openly saying, we're going to visit the electors and have a little talk with them. Translate that, the CIA is going to try to intimidate people sworn and pledged to represent the popular vote of people within the Electoral College in those states he took. So he did get the vote in those states. And they're saying, don't listen to that, overturn the election. This is outrageous.
Yeah, it's a power grab. Given the CIA's history of lying about Benghazi, lying about Vietnam, lying about the Kennedy assassination, lying about everything in their entire history. This is all agitprop. This is the last grasp of the establishment. I think Trump has been right on point by saying this entire argument is ridiculous. Yet no one wants to look at the role of the Saudis or the Chinese, particularly the Saudis, in Hillary's campaign, where they're openly bragging about financing her effort to hold on to the White House.
So what's the next step? I mean, how powerful is this move going to be? Because I know a lot of people have been underestimating it. I've been concerned since November 9th, that night, when it was announced he was the winner. I told you, sitting in this room, as you know, the champagne glasses had been drained at 3 a.m., I said, Roger, my gut tells me they're going to try to assassinate him. They're going to try to overturn this election. They're going to play possum. I mean, I really have been proven right that we cannot underestimate how evil these people are.
No, look, I think that the good news is, of course, that the electors in most cases are loyal Republicans. I do think there needs to be some counterpoint, some communication between them and the president-elect and the transition.
And the CIA should not be going and talking to electors, some nebulous secret group from the CIA.
Completely inappropriate. And we have to presume that once President Trump takes office, that he now needs to clean out the CIA. Top to bottom. The last president to do that was Jimmy Carter, and it proved to be quite dangerous, as you know.
Yeah, he needs to pull all the snot-nosed, white shoe boy, Ivy Leaguers that think they're better than everybody. Just if you're an Ivy Leaguer, you're not in the CIA, pull them out, and then put people from all over the country, diverse backgrounds in, and mainly military people from the 4 branches of the military, and that's where it should be anyways. We always had military intelligence, naval and army before that. It's time to pull out all the East Coast blue blood, Atlantic accent, Thurston Howell III garbage. It's time to pull that East Coast, Anglophile coup, which they admit it is, out of there and put the military back in control of intelligence. I say get rid of every frickin' blue blood.
I'm in total agreement. The place needs to be cleaned out top to bottom, as does the FBI. Clearly, under Director Comey, the FBI has acted in a blatantly political matter. They have now lied about the 650,000 emails in the trove kept by Huma Abedin and her husband Anthony Weiner, which I think will be the ultimate downfall and prosecution of the Clintons. Donald Trump needs to clean house. He really needs to drain the swamp, and he can start at the 2 largest law enforcement agencies we have, or I should say the 2 largest investigative agencies that we have.
Now, the FBI's done a lot of bad things, obviously, but compared to the CIA, they have an ancient feud. But the FBI's on record saying the RNC was not hacked. Russia was not doing all this. Obviously, Russia was probably getting into servers like dozens of other governments because Hillary was out there dangling it in front of everybody. That's Russia's job. But influencing the election, this is laughable. The Chinese brag, the Saudi Arabians brag, as you know, that they were pumping hundreds of millions into Hillary. Why doesn't Trump come out with all his surrogates and point out the headlines where they bragged that they were the ones that influenced it and say you're the one that's going to get investigated, DNC, and start indicting their asses?
Well, it's funny you say that, Alex. I've just written a memo to that effect. I mean, I'm in total agreement. It's time to go on offense. President-elect Trump has been very conciliatory since he became the designee to become president. He has, I think, sought to unite the country. He has met with people who are admittedly his opponents, people who were adamantly opposed to his election. But now it's time to act, I frankly think, in a more partisan fashion because these are partisan attacks. They go beyond Republican
It's an attack on the integrity of this country. They're claiming we're Russian agents. We have to have war with Russia. Have you seen Oberman and others foaming at the mouth going, we are at war with Russia. We need to have a war. What the hell are they...
After I spoke to you yesterday, I was walking down the street in Manhattan. I was on 2nd Avenue in the 60s, and a man came up to me and spit on me and called me a Soviet spy, a Russian spy, and a scumbag. This is the tolerance.
Did I not warn you yesterday morning that this is happening to me?
Yes, I heard you were assaulted on the trail, on the hiking trail.
And it was the same deal.
This is the tolerance of the liberals who keep arguing that there's no civility in our politics. I mean, this guy was rabid. He was drooling at the mouth. I did nothing to provoke him. He evidently recognized me from InfoWars, and he just went animal.
Let me ask you this question. I mean, how did you respond to him? I know you're half Sicilian. You told me Italians don't put up with that.
Well, I should have just decked him right then and there, but the light changed, frankly, and he took off, and I wasn't in a suit in the mood to chase
Sure,
him.
that's what they do. That's what they do. They run off. But, I mean, why do you think they're so wild-eyed? I get the criminals at the top. They've got a stake in taking the country down and feeding off of it and selling it off, in a corporate takeover. But why do their minions hate us so much when all we want to do is cut their taxes and make America great again?
Because they believe the constant mainstream media harangue that we are bigots, that we are racists, that Trump is going to finance the Ku Klux Klan, that he's going to roll back gay marriage, that he is going to arrest people for using medicinal marijuana. None of these things are true. But when the mainstream media repeats them ad nauseum over and over and over again, you know, the people at the bottom, the shock troops, the average leftist starts to believe them. So they have poisoned the atmosphere. They have lied repeatedly about Trump. They're still stunned that he won this election.
And that's right. And they also have turned the rhetoric up so high. They keep saying, our rhetoric's high. We're going to get people killed. They had an article in the Washington Post, as you know, yesterday saying Donald Trump's going to get people killed because he mildly tweeted back at the union head of the Steelworkers Union in Indianapolis that said he hadn't done enough. He said, what's your problem? No wonder you lost those jobs. You're the one that couldn't keep them. I brought back 85% of them. What's your problem? I mean, they say we're violent for standing up for ourselves politely while they're calling for killing Trump in every major publication.
Well, these are the same people who had nothing to say when it was revealed that we did, in fact, lose some CIA assets, were killed because of the leaked emails of Hillary Clinton. That didn't bother them at all. The fact that she had put her emails on a server where this country's enemies could easily access them. So this is the typical double standard. I will breathe easier after the electors have cast their vote, but at this point, I think the die is cast. I don't think the concerted campaign, and this is a campaign with multiple steps, is going to be successful.
I think it's one of the biggest campaigns I've ever seen. I mean, the bots, the attacks on myself, you, on Trump, I mean, it's synthetic. I see it. It's twice what was at the peak of the election. It is foaming at the mouth insanity. Soros, just as a metric, has doubled his money to Black Lives Matter. All the big corporations are just spilling money out for civil insurrection, I guess, in the next 37 days. I mean, this is just bedlam, Roger. Let me ask you that question. People can Google the Electoral College. It'll come up with some breakdowns of how it works. The 19th, they vote. By the 6th, they've got to be in. Then Congress, I guess, starts looking at it if there's any dispute. So when will we know definitively if they've been successful? Because they are calling for a new election, as you know. I mean, this is a concerted move to have a coup against the American voter.
My guess is you'll have leaks out of the Congress, and you'll have a running count that is in public. I'm sure that there are a few Republican electors who will go over the side, mostly, you know, Bush supporters who got on the party's slate to be an elector. These are chosen by the state parties, let's remember. But by and large, this may be the genius of Trump selecting Reince Priebus. If he isn't out there working these electors as the titular head of the Republican Party, he ought to be. These are his people. These are the state party's people who were selected to be these electors. And it would be Priebus's major job to keep them in line.
Roger, I've been asking the questions here in the few minutes we have left. Obviously, you've been at Trump Tower quite a bit. You're writing your book. You've cut back on interviews. I'm proud you're still coming here. You're going to be hosting the 4th Hour tomorrow. Give folks the title of the book again. It's very powerful. I've already seen some of the little snippets. I know you've been interviewing myself and the president and others for it. But separately, a president-elect, this is a political statement to send it to #1 political books. It's going to have a blueprint into the future as well that I know meshes with Bannon and President Trump. People need to see what the real blueprint is, not even so much the rhetoric. Tell folks about the name of your book and how they get it.
Sure. It's called The Making of the President, 2016, How Donald Trump Orchestrated an American Revolution. You can order it today in advance on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You can go shortly to the Infowars.com store and order it there. This is going to be the definitive inside look of how Donald Trump pulled off the greatest political upset in U.S. political history. But it's also going to be a blueprint to the future and how Trump plans to transform America and make it great again. I'm using the writing style of the late Theodore H. White, Teddy White, who I actually knew quite well, who I met in the '76 presidential campaign. So I'm going to be looking at kind of the big national trends that elected Trump, but I'm also going to be, producing some down and dirty vignettes from the campaign trail.
Sure.
So I think it's going to be a great read.
I hope sometime after this is all over and the president's, ensconced and we're reversing the globalist cancer, that you'll come on and talk about, because I've done a little bit of stalking of you, and I probably read 20 New York Times articles about you going back to the 80s with you and Roy Cohn and Donald Trump hanging out and all the stuff you were up to. Of course, they demonized Roy Cohn and lied about him, who he was, what he did, a hard-nosed lawyer, of course, for the whole McCarthy era. But that's who Trump sat at the knee of. And who really helped him. That's why they're so scared of him, because Roy Cohn was anti-communist, pro-America, pro-free market, and that's what's got him so scared, too.
Well, and he was a brawler. He was a fighter. I mean, I didn't know him, obviously, in the 50s, because I was born in 1952. But I knew him later in the New York years, and he was one of the major figures in the defeat of Jimmy Carter and the election of Ronald Reagan. He was, by the way, a lifelong Democrat. He also was, I think, transformative in Donald Trump's understanding of the world outside of Queens. He was very helpful to Donald in his move to Manhattan and his move to become the most prominent real estate developer in the world, not just in Manhattan, but in the world.
That's right. Thank you, Roger. You're going to be hosting tomorrow, 4th hour, StoneColdTruth.com.
We have Matt Boyle from Breitbart News is going to come on and talk to us about the fight over fake news. And we have St. John Hunt, the son of the legendary CIA agent E. Howard Hunt, who's going to talk to us about the duplicity of the CIA in this entire Russian canard regarding the election.
And, of course, we premiered it, Southern Coast to Coast AM, George Norrie. His father was who Mission Impossible was admittedly named after, Ethan Hunt. And, of course, so that's why the guy was named Hunt in Mission Impossible. He was a famous sniper in World War II and ran the operation killing Kennedy in Dallas, did the deathbed confession, and the media certainly ignored that. One of the plumbers, by the way, you were the junior member of the plumbers, the only guy that didn't go to prison. Did you know Mr. Hunt?
I did know Mr. Hunt, but I was not a plumber. I was on a completely different.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, some of the media says you were a junior plumber.
Yeah, no, I broke no laws. I did go to the Watergate grand jury, but I didn't know much of interest to them.
You're a walking history book. Thank you so much, Roger Stone.
Great to be here, Alex.
You bet. Right through December 17th, the last day that we can guarantee you'll get your order before Christmas in the United States, we're offering store-wide free shipping. And on top of that, some of the biggest discounts of the year. 30% off Living Defense Parasite Cleanse. 50% off Colloidal Silver Bullet, and free shipping. That is just an incredible deal. Brain Force Plus, now with 20% more in each bottle and 30% off. $19.95, can't beat that deal. Winter Sun, Vitamin D3, 25% off. Survival Shield, X2, Nascent Iodine, again, an amazing 30% off. BioTrue Selenium, 30% off, and that's just some of the specials. Check them out today at InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free. The great crew will answer your questions, tell you about some of the other specials, and take your order if you'd like. 888-253-3139. All right, he's back from New York. He's writing his book that will be the total inside breakdown of how Trump won right through the transition. It's Roger Stone. He's with us at the bottom of the hour. Then Paul Watson takes over for the rest of the transmission because I've got some big fish to fry. I'm just going to leave it at that. So much unfolding, so much happening. I knew the globalists wouldn't give up because Trump's for real. He wants to make America great again. He's not perfect. He's kind of a strong man, but he does want free market. He does want prosperity. He wants to preside over that largesse. You know, Rome had emperors that had, golden ages of jobs and freedom and prosperity. Then they had emperors that wanted to make people poor and control them, like Nero. And we're going through that right now as an empire. Trump wants to make us a republic again. And I just played Keith Olbermann just foaming at the mouth, frothing, saying, we're at war. We must bring him out. Any means necessary. We must stop him. The CIA, visit the electors. And they've announced the CIA, this rogue group that is all secretive, is going to go talk to the electors. And basically it's like talking to a jury, like the mafia does, and say, hey, how's your daughter doing? Where'd your puppy dog go? You better do the right thing. And the average American gets visited by the CIA. They might go ahead and say, okay, I'm not going to pledge myself to the voters as I promised. Now, also, the Democrats admit they infiltrated people into those processes, and now Nancy Pelosi's daughter is leading it. You cannot make this up. A new article on Infowars.com by Kellen McBreen, proof foreign governments did interfere in election to help Hillary. The communist Chinese and the Saudi Arabians bragged in newspapers they'd given hundreds of millions through U.S. subsidiaries. That's illegal. But Hillary controlled the Justice Department. So they're the ones getting foreign money. They're the ones bringing the illegals in. They're the ones with the EU involved and the Pope and all this. And then they say Trump is, and then Clapper is in front of the Congress yesterday and says there's no proof they were involved in WikiLeaks. The FBI says no proof they hacked the RNC. But Oberman and everybody else in Hillary comes out and Podesta and says the FBI agrees and all 17 agencies agree. The problem is, and this is not getting any real traction, it's in a few newspapers, top U.S. spy agencies refuses to endorse CIA's Russian hacking assessment due to lack of evidence, says it's a thin read, no proof of intent. That's the Office of the Director of National Intelligence that oversees all other 16 agencies. It was set up in 2002 to coordinate. It's the boss. So they are really putting this disinfo out, which shows they will go to any lengths. Roger Stone of the StoneColdTruth.com, former head of the Trump campaign, and of course, former